Hi there, this is Rose with Remodeling Wizards of Maryland. On this week's episode, we have 3 topics for you. First, we're going to define the term window awning. Second, we're going to give you an update on a situation one of our clients was facing after they bought a house that was flipped. Third, we're going to ask the contractor, what's the hardest project you've worked on in the last 25 years? Stay tuned. It's Terminology Tuesday, the day of the week where we pick a construction term and we talk about it. Today's term is awning window. John, can you tell us what that is?
Sure, an awning window. It's a cool type of window. It's a window where there's a hinge on the top of the window. Typically the lock is on the bottom with a crank out. So when you crank the window out, it actually opens up from the bottom, tilts up just like a canopy. The neat thing about an awning window is that even if it's raining, as long as it's not too windy, you're not going to get rain in your house. So it's a great window for a room like a bathroom where you might want to have some ventilation even during a rainy day.
Over the last few weeks, we've been sharing the story of a client of ours who bought a house that was flipped, but the person who flipped the house never followed through on the permit process. It turned into a complete nightmare for our client. John, can you give us an update on what's happening with that house?
Yeah, sure, Rose. Well, we're coming to some conclusion. We've had all the engineers out and the electrical testing done. We've had the building inspector out several times. And here's where we're at. I want to talk to you in particular about what it's costing to get this home in order so that we can get a final building inspection done. When we took a look at the foundation, it wasn't done properly, and this was just under the garage. But what we need to do is to dig some holes, do some underpinning, pour some cement. That's going to cost about $30,000 to fix that one situation. The electrical work, we've had all the wires and all of the outlets and all of the lights, everything has been inspected, and we have $23,000 of electrical work to do to get it through inspection. We did take a look at the structure, and again, we're looking at the garage only, and this had to do with some issues with the roof trusses. And there's an additional $5,000 in repairs on the roof. And on top of that, the cost of the testing, the engineer report, the electrical testing report, and working just as a consultant, there was an additional $7,000 in those types of fees. So right now, in order to get this home through the final inspection, the homeowner needs to spend about $65,000. So I think we are actually not at the end of this, we're at the beginning of the end, and I understand that the homeowner is going to try to get involved with some legal action, but then again, now you're going to have some other fees. So it's been a total disaster, and all I can say to people is strongly I recommend that if you're buying a home and you notice that there's some new work that's been done in the home, check, ask. You can call the county, you can talk to the city, you can talk to the homeowner, but find out, was a permit pulled and was there a final inspection done before you buy that home?
Today on Ask the Contractor, we want to know, over the 25 years that you've been a contractor, what's the hardest project you've worked on?
Well, that's a good question. There was a project a few years back, maybe 10, 15 years ago, where we were called to put a new roof on a historic church. This was out in Dorchester County. Anyway, when we got there, we found that there was a lot of rot in the plywood under the roofing, in particular at the steeple. So what we needed to do was to take all the plywood out, rebuild the steeple, and then put the roof shingles on. Well, it was hard, just the fact that we had to do it because it was high up, number one, and the steeples, as you know, they're very steep. Anyway, the big thing that really concerned me was the day that we were doing it. We had all the plywood off and we were getting ready to put it together. And this was in the summer, an August day. It was clear blue skies until we got about halfway through the project. Next thing I know, the clouds started rolling in And I'm standing there, and the pastor came out and looked at me and looked up at the steeple. He said, "Don't worry, we're not gonna get rain today." And you know, he was right. The rain passed right by us. It never hit the steeple, and thank God it didn't, because it would have ruined the inside of that historic church.
We hope today's episode was interesting to you. If it was, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our page. We'll see you next week.